Welcome to the Secret to Secret podcast. I'm your host Simeon, and I bring you conversations on the spiritual journey with some of the world's most experienced seekers. For writing on spirituality, make sure to check out the Secret to Secret blog, linked in the description below. Please consider helping the Secret to Secret project grow by subscribing to the channel and signing up for the blog's newsletter. It really helps a lot. Today's guest is Reverend Bill McDonald. Bill's life has been a spiritual journey spanning over 7 decades, a mystical trip in search of gurus, the paranormal, and self-discovery. He's an author, an award-winning poet, international motivational speaker, artist, and Vietnam War veteran. For his tour of duty in the Vietnam War, he has been awarded the Distinguished Flying Cross, the Bronze Star, the Purple Heart Medal, 14 Air Medals, the Vietnamese Cross of Gallantry, and many others. Bill has had many near-death experiences and encounters with the supernatural, and his stories circulate widely throughout magazines, books, TV documentaries, and YouTube interviews. Now, I need to prepare you for the following conversation. The experiences Bill reports are extraordinary and far beyond what most of us will ever experience in our lifetime. To be blunt, there really is no way of verifying or denying them. However, there is a certain attitude towards life, a certain benevolent energy Bill exudes, and even for a skeptic such as myself, it is difficult to deny the wisdom and power behind his words. What follows is an abridged version of my encounter with Bill, which lasted nearly 5 hours. I've cut out most of the storytelling, which you can find elsewhere on YouTube anyway. And I've left in all the bits that really struck me with profundity. All the bits that relate to all of us regular human beings who can't boast having experiences such as Bill's. There is also one key heated section in our conversation where Bill and I debate the usefulness of psychedelics on the spiritual journey. I believe this is an especially important part of the recording since it puts on record a very different attitude towards psychedelics than what one is used to getting within spiritual or New Age circles. So, with this long introduction out of the way, I hope you enjoy one of the most idiosyncratic episodes I've recorded so far. I hope it inspires you with new wisdom and opens up new avenues for exploration on your own spiritual journey. Enjoy. That's why I think your work is so important, because through meditation, I've been led through to this realization that we are all one system functioning in different manifestations, and I see you as an extension of this system we're all part of, which is somehow capable, almost like a scientific instrument, to pick up on those different frequencies that most of us aren't able to pick up on. So
yeah, it's like this, Simon. I'm sorry to interrupt you. It's like this because you talk about frequencies. Right now, there's cell phone, microwaves or whatever they are. They're going through me because there's a tower not too far from here. So I can't hear any of those conversations, but it doesn't invalidate that there's conversations going on in the atmosphere, right? In these waves. And there's radio frequency going on with radio stations. And there's television beaming stuff out, shortwave radios and CB radios and all kinds of stuff. I can't hear them because I don't have a receiver. If I had a receiver and I turned on the television and put it on the right channel, I could pick it up. So it's the same thing with people. You got a body, so you got the receiver, but you haven't learned to tune it in to the right frequencies. And that is by altering your vibrations. And when you alternate your vibrations, you're basically just tuning the channel. And all of a sudden, oh, there's another dimensional. Is that a UFO or is that an interdimensional thing? Is that the past? Is that the future? Is that now? And then when you get down to time, that's where things get really crazy. Because science, right now, science When I was young, they didn't say this, but now they do. Scientists are saying that if you could get a rocket ship and you were traveling 400,000 miles, per second or something, just zipping through you would approach Earth and zipping by, and all time on Earth would be exposed to you. It'd be like just cut all the going on at the same time. Right now, us talking, Jesus walking, Buddha, Krishna, Julius Caesar, right? Hitler. It's all happening right now. And that goes for the future. So you got to ask yourself, well, how do these guys predict the future? It's not that hard. All you got to do is just change your frequency, and you just view what's already there.
Yeah, but you haven't worked towards changing your frequency. I mean, you have, but you have also had it as a gift, right? From very early childhood. It's always been with you to some extent.
Yeah. All right, but let's talk about how do you change your frequency, I'm telling you, through meditation. But that's not the reason to meditate, but that's what happens. But I also believe that if your parents were meditators and your parents' parents were meditators, and in other words, if you come from a long line of fortune tellers and mystical people and spiritual people, guess what? Your DNA, they're going to find someday that there's a spiritual DNA. I mean, they look at the DNA, they're only reading a little bit on the DNA, right? They can read, that you're German or you're Irish, or, you're male, you're female, you got blonde hair, blue eyes. I mean, they can read a few things. You're susceptible to these diseases, but there's a big amount of your DNA that they haven't read yet. And I'm trying to tell you that everything is inherited when you come into this world, that even your spiritual DNA, that makeup, why should this guy be born and have these abilities? Well, obviously you've earned them. That's karma. You can go down that route. But all these parents and people ahead of you set this up, and you go into that body to be born because that's the package that's waiting for you. That's your spiritual DNA. Mm-hmm. And I also believe that your spiritual DNA can be altered and changed. Just like you alter or change a DNA to cure somebody of a disease, mankind's learning how to alternate DNA where they can manipulate things. I'm telling you that the divine creator can change spiritual DNA. So you ask, how come this guy's got the ability and somebody else doesn't? I'm saying a spiritual DNA based on lifetime after lifetime and lifetime of efforts.
Yeah.
It's like this person comes into life, and Mozart or somebody, right? And he's 4 or 5 years old. He's creating music, and people go, "This kid's a genius. Who taught him that?" Right? He came in with it. His musical DNA was already there. He reached a level he's just not going to give it up. So, yeah, I came into it, but I'm a firm believer that it's like a muscle. And if you're really out of shape and you can't do anything, so you go to a gym and you look at Arnold Schwarzenegger pictures, right? And you go, I want to look like Arnold, right? I want to look like Arnold, right? So you go down there and you read every book and you look at all the videos he's done about working out and what he did and look at his life story, and you emulate that. And you go boom, 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 and you build your body, and eventually you'll look like Arnold Schwarzenegger to a degree, because there's certain of that is DNA, right? I mean, it's some things you can't just do, but you give it a shot. Bottom line is, you can't go to Arnold Schwarzenegger and say, "Give me your body. Come on, I'll pay you money." He's going to tell you, go to the gym, lift the weights. I can't lift them for you. You got to lift them for yourself. So with spiritual DNA, I'm telling you, go to your meditation room. Start meditating. I can't do it for you. Nobody can. Work out with God. Build those spiritual muscles. And why you want to build your spiritual muscles is not so you can have cities or powers or abilities. And that's the last reason you want to go there. And if that's the reason, you're wasting your time. You want to go there to build your other powers, to power is to be kind, to have compassion, to love without analyzing people and condemning people and judging people, just to love. Kindness and compassion will get you a long way in this world. You can be a poor man, but if you're kind, compassionate, and loving to animals and people and children and trees, and fish and everything around you, the world reciprocates. As you give out, you give back. So if you give out love, you get love back, more so. So consequently, in reverse, if you're angry all the time and you're judgmental and you're trashing people and you're unkind and you're mean, guess what? The universe gives you that same treatment back and more. So when somebody does you wrong, you hurt yourself when you get angry at them, when you judge them. You're hurting you more than them. Because a lot of times somebody hurts you, they never give it a second thought. They go, they never think about it again. But you think about it for 20 years, how this person hurts you, How dare they? How dare they? Who are you? I mean, think about any great person from history. Jesus, he could say, how dare those 12 disciples? They're responsible for these nails in my hands. How dare they sell me out? And Judas for silver. Come on. How dare they? We are responsible for what happens to us, even though it doesn't look like it. There's reasons. Some things we choose to take on. Jesus chose to take on the crucifixion. Had he not been crucified, he wouldn't have been revered and worshipped as he is today. He would have been just a guy that, taught and he left. So sometimes the great ones come and they'll take on pain. They'll take on suffering. Well, they take on pain. Suffering is another whole issue. I separate the two. They'll take on pain. They'll take on troubles. And it's like somebody was talking about St. Francis of Assisi. And he had a lot of afflictions and he was going blind and he had all these things happening to him. People go, well, if he's such a spiritual holy man, why has all these things happening to him? Got nothing to do with anything. Because you don't know. He was burning all that karma out for his followers, maybe. You don't know. And sometimes great ones will take on an abundance of stuff just to get rid of it. Let's don't wait around for many more lifetimes. Let's give me everything you got. And then you got people out there like children that come into the world, and the children it's born with deformities.
Yeah. It's
born with mental issues, emotional issues, IQ problems. And you go, what's the purpose of this child? And then you find the parents that are raising these children, and there's so much love and compassion that they've found raising these children that are considered idiots or something, and disregarded by society, just kicked to the curb. And they find their own life enriched by this relationship. And they learn great compassion taking care of these children. The children teach them to be more loving. The children teach them to be compassionate. In other words, these children come into life taking on all these, all these afflictions of the body and the mind, are actually helping mankind learn compassion. And as we treat them, we as a society grows. So you got to ask, was that a punishment for them, or was that a great soul that came into life and sacrificed so much to teach those around them love and compassion? Because that's a great sacrifice of a life. So you can't judge somebody by what apparent things are happening to them in this life and say, well, based on what's happening to them, their karma must have been terrible, right? And then this other guy's born, he's a billionaire, but he's an a-hole. Well, I got children, people watching this, so not a nice guy, right? Not a nice guy, but he's the richest guy in the world. I went to many of my trips to India. I run into these rich people, and they go, Rich people are more spiritual than poor people. And I'm going, what? What? Yes, we have this great karma. That's why we come back rich. They really believe that. It's like, I want to kick them in the butt. And I'm going, what? So by that theory, the richest men in the world, and there's a whole bunch of them out there, take a look at their lives. Are they saints? Are they sages? So having more money doesn't make you more spiritual.
Yeah.
It doesn't make you less either.
Yeah.
You can be a very spiritual person and be rich. It's not the money, it's the attachment to the money. I teach people, don't go to those places that you do not live. No one lives in the past and no one lives in the future. You only live in the eternal now. So now, if somebody hurt your feelings, somebody's fired you from a job, if somebody said bad things about you that aren't true, somebody's done something, you've done something, you feel guilty about it. Forget it. Make amends if that's what you're supposed to do, but forget about it. You are you in that moment. The pain from the past, if you carry that with you into the future, into this now, into the future, that is called suffering. So people go, oh, all these things happen to my life. I said, take anybody's life. I don't care if it's Winston Churchill, any famous movie star, any famous person, author, me, you. Simon must have had a couple bad things happen in his life. I mean, it's a judgmental thing, right? Everybody has a level of pain. Fact. Somebody's going to die in your life. A parent, a friend, spouse, somebody. Guarantee. Simon, I guarantee I make a prediction the next 20 years you will lose 20 people you know. It'll happen. It happens to all of us. So telling people that they can't, you can't teach them to avoid. There's some pain you can avoid. Like, for example, if you rob banks, you're taking a gamble that you're going to go to jail someday, or maybe you get shot by the police, and there'll be some pain, right? And so there's some pain you avoid. You don't rob banks, right? Or you don't ride motorcycles when you're my age. I give up my motorcycle license. I didn't think that was too smart, riding motorcycles anymore. So, but suffering is always a choice. You could be born with no legs and complain forever. That's painful. But by complaining, you've now added suffering to the pain. You've added another element to the problem. Suffering never does any positive thing for a human being. Suffering. So I don't care if you're in jail doing time. Focus on the now. You're there at that moment. Read a good book. Meditate. Be kind to your cellmate. That's the kind of advice I gave guys when I was chaplain at Folsom Prison for a while. I was volunteer there. Folsom Prison from Johnny Cash.
Yeah.
Anyway, Folsom Prison, some really guys that have done some really terribly bad things. But I always looked at it that way. They did some really terrible bad things. But I never thought they're terribly bad people. Now, I wouldn't want them in my house. I don't want them out of jail because they haven't, they're still learning lessons. So they're a danger to us. But underneath it all, if you talk to them, and I did, I would find that every one of those guys back there gave me a story of their childhood that would make you rip your heart. Every one of them, you could just listen to their childhood, and how they're raised, and how their father beat the mother, and the parents were thieves, and they cheated, and this and that, and everybody was. I mean, just look at their childhood. You go, this is going someplace bad, right? So you feel for these. You see, I used to look for the child in them. So I tell people, when you have an enemy, somebody's really being terrible to you at work, they're making you look bad, they're trying to get you to get fired, somebody else is starting rumors about you. I think those are like the worst things people do to you, is when they mess with your integrity and the value of your reputation. I think those are bad. But there's other people that cheated you out of money. There's all kinds of things. And if you look at them and see the child in them, the immaturity, and look for that loving child, go back far enough. Small children are not born evil. Yeah, they might have some evil karmic stuff waiting for them, but that's a woken up, I think. We come to this world, you know, when you look at a baby, you don't have to teach a baby. Think about this. You never have to teach a baby to laugh. You never have to teach a baby to love. Right?
Yeah.
But you can teach a baby to hate a race, to hate a food, to hate something, right? You can teach them to hate.
So talking about, you know, what's going on in the world, this is the world we all inhabit. But I want to ask you about the world that most of us can't see, because recently on my first guest on the podcast was a professor called Chris Beisch, and he had dedicated his whole life to psychedelic exploration. And he was like a really educated guy, a professor of religion, graduate from Cambridge. And so he really applied his knowledge of world religion to what he saw during psychedelic states. And the interesting thing about talking to him was the insights that he gained and things that he saw about the way this world operates. You know, why are we born in these bodies that we have? Why are we reborn? What's the purpose of it all? And he had some interesting things to say about this. And I was wondering, with all of the experiences that you had, what are some insights that you think would be great if more people had about how the world operates, what the purpose of it all is, and where it's heading?
Without stepping on toes of your former guest, because I didn't watch that.
Yeah.
And not trying to be judgmental, I'm really anti-psychedelics as a solution to finding any kind of wisdom or enlightenment. It's, first off, there's a danger taking it and using it. And what you find in that state may not be the truth, or at least the truth that you would find if you were meditating, trying to transverse the same inner space. So it's a dangerous thing. So anybody watching this, I'll go down on record. I am not in favor of using drugs to find any form of insights or enlightenment. Now, there may be a time when you're with a shaman or a guru, or somebody prescribes something for a short, ceremony or something. I'm not going to judge that. But for somebody to regularly seek out psychedelics, that's the spiritual lazy man trying to artificially induce spiritually transformative experiences. All right? You can have experiences, but they're not in the same reality zone that I would go, if there is such thing as a reality zone. And for anybody to have the audacity to suggest, I know the reason why we're here, and this is why God created us.
Yeah, no, well, he didn't.
Nobody. No, I've not met anybody that knows that is the ultimate question, the ultimate answer. Why? Meaning literally, why is there life? Why is there a creation? Why are we here? Why do we have an ego? Why were we given a role in this play? And then the ultimate question, why not, right? But so you can't find that answer using the intellect, using a brain or an intellectual. You can't use the intellect to find a question that is a no-brainer. In other words, the only way you can answer that question is to have no thoughts.
Mm.
So you can't think yourself to an answer on that. Now, as a human being thinking, I'll give you my thinking answer. My thinking answer is the universe is entertaining itself, and this is just the great play. This is just the great dream, the great movie of the Creator. And each one of us is just a spark of that energy. And each of us, it's like taking a bucket of the ocean and you throw it. And every droplet of water coming out of that bucket of ocean thinks it's an individual drop, but it's still the ocean. No matter how many drops or how far it's spread, it's still the ocean, no matter how separate it is from it. Even if it's absorbed into a cloud and comes down as rain in a creek and then to a river, and then from the river back to a lake to eventually back to the ocean, it's still the ocean, still the ultimate source. So each of us thinking that we are a separate ego is an illusion. And when you resolve that, become truly, get back to the word enlightened, when you're truly enlightened, that curtain is gone, that separation is gone. You're truly absorbed. A lot of people want to hang on to this identity. Oh, I still want to be Simon. Simon, I want to be enlightened, but I don't want to give up Simon. You know, you got to give up Simon. You got to give yourself up. So consequently, you could evolve from this creation on Earth, this terrestrial life, human being, and you may continue to live on an astral plane or a causal plane, the next level up, or you may become a rainbow light just floating through the cosmos. And ultimately, you may just be consciousness someplace in the cosmos or non-cosmos or wherever. But you always got that I. As long as you still have I, you know, it's going to be a lot lesser degree. But you still got an I. You still got that attachment to a form. As long as you have a form, whether it's a rainbow, an astral body, an angel body, whatever, right? A light. As long as you still retain a form, you still have an ego. You understand that? Mm-hmm. And when the ego is gone, there's no Simon. But there is a Simon. Simon's God.
So what about the ego then? Why? It must serve a purpose as well, right?
It keeps you separated from God. So actually, if you really want to look at what keeps you separated, people go, oh, the devil made me do it. The devil keeps us separated from God. Well, the only thing that really keeps you separated from God is the ego. So therefore, is the ego really the temptation of the devil? I don't know. I've never had that thought before. I just threw it out. But it's like, whatever separates you from God, and can anything be not God? So that's the other thing. Yeah. I just said the ego separates you from God, but isn't the ego also God?
Yeah, that's so super interesting.
So this argument just made a whole complete circle, right? 300. So you can see how I said I believe something, and I'm not sure what I believed yesterday. I'm not even sure what I believed 35 seconds ago, right? So it's an evolving thing. And the only way to really know the answers to those ultimate questions, like my grandson asked me, well, who made God? And I put that right there with the category of the question he asked me. Well, what was the first day? When's the beginning? Beginning of what? When? Where? Right? It has to be beginning because we got time and space. Well, time, there's a beginning. But without time, there is no beginning, which your mind can't even get a handle on. Right?
Yeah.
Really no time. No time? So I had an experience, a rainbow body experience, and
can you just explain what the rainbow body experience is? Just
okay. So I finished a several hour long meditation. I was about 28, and I was laying in bed, and again looking at a picture of Paranormal Yogananda, staring at the eyes. You know, when you take a great saint or a sage or a guru, Jesus, Buddha, whoever, when you get a drawing or a painting or a photograph, and I say that because I hear people say I was looking at a photo of Jesus. Yeah, great. Was it autographed? No, it's a painting, right? It's a drawing, right? So, but if you're looking at a picture of a holy one, and it's probably, if it's a drawing or something, it's probably not real, what it really looked like, but it matters not. It's an emotional, spiritual attachment. If you see Jesus to look that way, that's the way Jesus looks. So I'm looking at Paranormal Yogananda's photo, and comes alive. It's just like alive, right? And then I'm going in them. It's just like drawing you in, and I'm in them. And as soon as I'm in them, boom, there's this flash. It's rainbow, just a film of rainbow light, just like a small short rainbow, and I'm streaking through the cosmos. Kind of like, I don't know if you guys in Europe get Star Trek or watch Star Trek movies.
Yeah.
But they go into what they call in English warp drive.
Oh yeah.
Warp drive, and all of a sudden you see all these colors coming by as they're flashing through the cosmos, right? Well, it's kind of like you're in warp drive, and you're just traveling through this, wherever it is, and lights and things are passing you by. And it took me 20 years or longer to wake up one day and realize, I've been telling everybody that I was traveling, because I kept thinking I was traveling. I wasn't traveling. Because not only would things get closer to me and on in front of me, but behind me, on the sides, above. In other words, every angle, 360 degrees, no matter which way you want to take the circle around, I was moving towards.
Oh.
So that's not traveling. That's expansion. That's expansion of the consciousness. And I go, wow, okay, that explains it. You're expanding your consciousness. And I found that there were sounds. The universe makes a sound. There's an old Moody Blues album, The Lost Chord. You're probably too young to remember it. If you get a chance, find it on YouTube or something. But The Lost Chord, it's a great album by the Moody Blues. But they got a song called Om, and it's like they're looking for the ultimate sound of the universe, right? And I'm gonna tell you right now, that is the sound of the universe. When you're I don't even know the word. When you're moving through this, absorbing it, becoming it, there's this sound that the universe, the creation itself, everything gives off. It's a soft, loud, vibrating hum.
Mm.
Om.
Yeah.
Om. Now, a lot of religions have come up with Amen, Amen, Om. Yeah. I mean, taking all the religions, they all got something kind of familiar sounds of all the different religions. You got to ask yourself, where did Amen come from? Where did Om come from? Somebody knew something, they didn't know why they do it, right?
Yeah.
The sound of the universe is like that. And then, as I'm traveling, I'm seeing that the rainbow colors, that's not the only colors. There's colors that transverse, that back to that trans again. Just go out there. There's colors and colors, endless colors beyond what you see in the rainbow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you got red, blue. Well, there's a new color and there's no name for it. It's just like there's new colors. There's colors. And there's a vibration besides the sound. And another vibration that you feel, even though I'm traveling in this rainbow body, I have no body. I'm this film of light. But it's vibrating with love. Right? It's love. And I also realized as I'm traveling in this light that I'm not alone. I'm a part of this rainbow, but there's other salient beings, other spiritual inhabitants, other vibrations in there with me. I'm not alone. That we're all together creating this rainbow.
Oh.
Much like the finger, is that you? The finger you? Well, it's part of you. You could say it's you, but it's not you. Doesn't have your personality and everything, right? And the cell in your finger, is that you? Or a cell in your heart, a cell in your brain or your blood? Is that you? But all together with my consciousness. This is the ego, me, the I.
Yeah.
And you take the consciousness away from this, what do you got? Ashes, right?
Yeah.
But I'm in this rainbow cell, this body, much like a cell. I'm just a part of the functioning organization of this family. It's like this whole family is functioning as a rainbow. Like we're all focused on the same thing, teaching love and service and spirituality. In other words, the rainbow group I'm with, it's focused on an aspect of the divine, love and service, spirituality.
Can I just interrupt you here, because it's my duty to actually bring this up. Sorry to contradict you, but the experience of the rainbow body, what you just explained, it's terribly similar to what I've heard a friend of mine talk about his psychedelic experience. So I'm bringing this up because I think it's an important point. There's this psychedelic substance called 5-MeO-DMT. I've never tried it, but my friend told me the experience that he's had and that many others have is this exiting your body, entering some complete brilliant white light, and then hearing this buzz, this vibration, and feeling it in your body.
Here's the thing. First off, you make it sound good like that, and you're gonna have young people out there and old people out there going to take you at your word and this guy's word, and they're going to try it. Some of those people that try that are not going to come back from that trip. They're going to have psychotic issues with having done that journey. That's not a safe journey, not the way to do it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that they're not finding something out there. I'm telling you that it's a spiritual lazy man's journey that's dangerous. And if you do it often enough, you're going to do some damage.
Yeah.
Okay? So, loving man thinks he's doing something good, but if he could get to that state meditating, I'll listen to him. But if he has to use chemically induced trips, that's what it is, and he has no control over that. So I don't want to glorify it in any way at all. And there's people going to watch this thing and think, oh, who's this old fuddy-duddy you brought in there? I'm telling you, because I'm making this and jumping on this, because I know for a fact as I'm watching myself on this screen in this video,
yeah,
somebody's going to watch this and somebody's going to go do it because we talked about it and it sounds okay. And I'm telling you, no, it's not okay. Don't do it. So I didn't want to entertain that. But yes, there's people through psychedelics that found these beautiful things and they continue to do it. And there's people who have done it with mushrooms and they've done it with akashka or whatever that plant is, and they've done it with marijuana. They've done it with all these other things. It doesn't make it the path of choice. It's a dangerous path.
Yeah. It's just
like guys create great music while they're doing drugs. Yeah, I was doing all these drugs. I wrote all these great songs. You know what? You're creative. You probably could have did it without them.
Yeah.
But the reason that I'm jumping on this so hard, because I really sense a great danger worldwide when they use the psychedelics. And you got a lot of people out there, even meditators. Oh, it's a great shortcut. I could do this and I could do that. And you got some guys out there that have, you know, they went from LSD and then they go to India, meet somebody, and then they go back. And now I'm enlightened and here's all this stuff. But, you know, I'm telling you, don't do it. It's limited. It will not take you to where you want to go. And if you can't reach this level through your own efforts, then you're missing the boat, and you're doing actual damage to your brain. Just saying that, and I'm heavy on it. And I mentioned that because I was working with this monk, and he stayed at my house for 3 months because he had a brother that was in a rest home about 10 miles from my house, and he visited him for several months. And the guy had been in a rest home. The guy is now about, I'd say he's 60 years old. And he's been in a rest home since he's been 19 years old. He was the top graduate in his high school. He was a Victorian, wherever what's the top guy in the class, the valedictorian.
Yeah, yeah.
And he got a scholarship for Stanford, going to go to good school. And he took a vacation to Europe the summer before he was going to go to Stanford. And he took 4 LSD trips. Never came down. Made him psychotic. And so from 19 to age 60, whatever he is now, he hasn't done a darn thing with his life except sit around in a room and eats, and somebody tells him what to do, and does arts and crafts. All right?
Yeah.
4 trips.
Yeah.
4. All right? And there's other examples out there. Now, maybe nothing will ever happen. But I'm going to tell you right now that there's damage being done at the cellular level of the brain.
But why do you think there's damage being done? Because, for example, some of the more natural compounds like mushrooms have been shown to actually be healthy for the brain.
Well, I think there's damage done with LSD for sure, all the chemical ones. I'm not a scientist, so I'm not going to get down to science. I can only tell you what I know and what I experienced. And I've met too many people that have done all the plant-based ones, and I think nothing's happening to them. But look at their lives. I mean, this is such a turn on. They got to do it again and again and again and again. Well, if they got the answer, why do they keep going back? They say they're not addicted, but they are.
But couldn't somebody say the same for meditation? Let's say, because people do get
meditation is an addiction, but it's health. It actually helps the brain, and that's scientific fact.
Yeah, that's true.
Scientific fact.
Yeah.
And actually, you're leaving your brain. You're resting your organs. But when you get guys out there that are telling the world on videos how great and wonderful psychedelics are, I got to go out there and say, I'm sorry, I don't agree with you. There's another side of this, and everybody that you're responsible for, everybody that tries it and has a bad trip or gets hooked on it, they're karmically responsible. I'm responsible if somebody turns on to meditation. Great, I'll take the karma. But he's responsible for turning people on to drugs. And I'm sorry, but that's his. It's very judgmental on my part. I'm sorry, but I'm really strong when it comes to drugs and no drugs. Mm-hmm. So I know that stepped on your toes, and you probably enjoyed your interview with him. And he was a lovely man, and he had great things, and it's exciting for a young person to hear how wonderful that was. Because if you haven't had the experiences, you go, my God, I could have these experiences, and it only cost me a little bit. I can just get this drug and do it.
Yeah, well, it's not.
Do it the old-fashioned way. That's like going down. Yeah, I could go to the gym and work out, get a natural body, or I could inject steroids. Steroids work great. My body looks good. But eventually, you got a price to pay.
Steroids but haven't hallucinatory plants always been part of, the great religions of the world?
All religions of the world, that's going to step on a lot of toes, are created. God has no religion.
Yeah.
Jesus wasn't just Christian. Buddha wasn't a Buddhist. None of these guys, Muhammad wasn't a Muslim. All these guys lived a life and they taught. Right? So I just want to be clear. I think I'm clear. I think I made my point.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are.
But I saw you light up when you started talking about this guy, because I'm picking up that you're going to try it. And Simon, I'm telling you right now, that's not what you want to do.
No.
I'm sorry.
No,
don't do it. Don't do it.
Not about me. It's
No. It's about, if you can broadcast people and people are going to watch your videos, it is about you as well. Because you gave me a question that sounded like, well, you can get there by using this. You've already put that idea out there.
No.
So karmically, you've already planted a seed. So be very careful on what you personally promote, because you are responsible at some level.
No. Of course, I agree. But also at the same time, the experiences that you had, not many, very, very few people have had, and then psychedelics makes available these sorts of experiences to people. And you said yourself that you had 2 weeks without, your sixth sense, and
absolutely.
So that's like.
Here's the thing. I'll guarantee that these people do these psychedelics, do them often, and they have no plans on ever stopping. That's addiction. I'm sorry. And if they're not meditating, trying to find it that way, they're missing a gap. So they've gotten some kind of enlightenment. What are they doing with that? And if the only way you can get it is through this chemical-induced state, what good is that? I mean, you could have an enlightened moment for meditation, and you could still go out and chop the wood, gather the fire, gather the water, and you could do all kinds of things. You could still work and function in a spiritual state. You can't do that in a drug-induced state.
All right. So then, what is your personal recommendation for people who are looking to expand and grow spiritually?
Meditation and how you live your life. There's no shortcut, real, genuine shortcut to finding that divine spark within you. You have to work at it. Now, see, what I'm preaching, nobody wants to hear. Oh, you got to work at it. You got to meditate. You got to spend hours fighting your mind. You got to do all, and this guy's coming along, just guess to your head saying, yeah, drop some acid, you'll be okay. Take some mushrooms, you'll be okay.
Like that,
you have all the good things, right? That's easy. He's going to have an easier time selling that than I will ever sell mine. Trust me, more people will want to do that. And that's why the majority of the world is having problems. Everybody's looking for a shortcut. The poor people, he just gets booze. He wants to feel better. He's depressed, so he drinks till he's happy, and then he drinks till he's dead drunk, right? And somebody else does marijuana. Yeah, man, I can give it up anytime I want. I've given it up 1,000 times, I had my friends tell me. But they're always in an altered state. Well, you want to be in your peak state, not something you have no control over. So what can you do? Do the work. Or you could be like the guy who goes to the gym and shoots the steroids, and Arnold Schwarzenegger did eventually. And then he ended up having a heart attack and everything else and health issues now. So be real. Be real. You can get imitation food flavoring, or you can eat the real fruit. Mm. I'm telling you that the psychedelics is not the real. That's like corn syrup. It's not real sugar, right? It's not healthy for you. And you go online, you look at how many people have a bad trip on this stuff. I don't care if it's a real small number. There are people that have bad trips on it. And it does change personalities. Yeah. Not always for the better. You're rolling the dice. You don't know what your personality is on that. And you don't know if you're on that, if you're going to do something stupid and physically dangerous either.
Yeah, but isn't this the case for every kind of adventurous activity? You go hiking in the mountain, but something terrible can happen, but you still do it because of what you learn in the experience itself.
When I go hiking in the mountains and I see a lion, mountain lion, or a bear in California, I take prudent precautions. I step aside and make noise, whatever. I don't go out hiking thinking there's a chance I'm going to fall off a cliff. So no, that's not a comparable thing. You get on the highway, you get behind a car, you got seatbelts, you got things. Your job is to get from point A to point B, not to get in an accident. When you're taking psychedelic drugs, you're flirting with that, what's going to happen. You're not saying, okay, here's my intentions. This is going to be a good thing. You don't know. You don't know.
Yeah, but that's why people advocate approaching these things respectfully and taking the necessary precautions. So really respecting it as a sacrament.
Obviously, I'm dealing with somebody that's already been sold.
Yeah.
Just say so. You're sold on it. You're going to do it. This guy's doing it.
Oh, no. It's not about me. It's just about...
No. It is about you because you're going to broadcast this and people are going to watch it.
Yeah, but people need to hear this discussion because there are some people that are, for it and some people against it. That's why it's so important for the two viewpoints to meet, right?
Well, they're not going to meet because the people that are doing it think that I am so righteous and so wrong, right? There's no meeting point. I'm telling them, short term, maybe it works. Great. But you keep doing it. You're rolling the dice and you're increasing your odds. It's dangerous. It's lazy. When you can do the same thing organically through meditation. And it's safer and it's guaranteed. And you're not going to damage your brain or somebody else or the environment or whatever. So not a good thing. But if you got people out there right now that they would argue me to death that my attitude is wrong, and they'd be very fervent and almost religious in their argument. So I don't want to go down that road anymore. I think you know my point of view.
Yeah, yeah.
Am I going to stop you from doing it? I give you advice. For you personally, I don't see this as a good thing for you, and I'm telling you that.
Yeah.
Now,
But it's not about me at all.
well, it is, because I've detected that. No, it is about you. It's there. You're entertaining it. I'm sorry, it's there.
No, everything I talk about is something that I consider very interesting and very important.
Okay.
Psychedelics included.
Okay. So just realize that's where it starts the seed. It's like going online and looking at pornography. Well, I'm just looking for pornography. They usually advance to something else. So I don't condemn anybody taking it. That's their freedom. I don't condemn anybody who drinks booze. That's their freedom. I get mad at them when they're driving a vehicle down the road and they're endangering my life, enhanced, impaired by any kind of drug at all. But I would never allow a friend or somebody I know to take it without me at least warning them. So I'm telling you, you're forewarned. At this stage, it's on you.
What I really love about your message is that, you know, except for meditation, you also advocate service and love as the real path. So can you just talk more about this? Because when people hear love, very often they think, oh, that's like this mushy, abstract, touchy-feely thing. But it's actually really profound, perhaps the most profound thing there is. Can you talk about this and how somebody can orient their lives, you know, to follow love and be led by love?
Yeah, people ask me, what's the purpose of life? Why we're here? And I mean, you could have 1,000 words and descriptions, and it really gets down to this. It's love. But service and love are one. In other words, you meet a poor, starving guy, and you love him, and you look at him, I love you, and you walk away. What kind of love is that, right? You haven't served him, right? You haven't given him anything. So love and service it goes hand in hand. So to me, it's not about me. It's not about us. It's not about the individual ego. It's about the greater us. It's always about all of us. And all of us are connected. We're all one. Whether it's in a rainbow body or the body of creation. In this body of creation, we're all one. Everything leads back to that oneness. And so when you have love, great love, that helps everybody because everybody feels that greater consciousness. And when you hate somebody, it's a negative vibration for everybody that's associated with this greater consciousness. So each of us have our part. And our part is to love and to serve. And I throw service in there really because I've seen someone, well, I'm loving everybody. Well, you haven't given $1 to charity. You haven't lifted a finger to feed anybody. You haven't helped somebody get a job. You haven't held somebody's hand when they're crying. You haven't, cooked a meal for somebody. You haven't, you know what I mean? You haven't labored for anybody. So loving is just an abstract thing. So you got to take it from the abstract to the concrete. But when you do love people in meditation and in prayer, you are giving them something when it's at that level because you're infusing it with energy. You understand the difference there. Mm-hmm. So when you infuse your love with energy from meditation and in prayer, that is truly a gift. And you are giving. Because honestly, you can't go around 7.5, 8 billion people in the world and feed them all and hold all their hands. But you can love humanity, and you can send out loving prayers, and vibrations, and light to all, and try to do it from a secure place. So love and services are huge. I tell people that, and they look at me, well, I'm just a housewife. I'm just, no such thing as a housewife anymore, but I'm just a person. I just got a regular job. I'm going, no matter what it is. If you're a school teacher, you're helping children, give them love, give them service. If you're sweeping the floors as custodian, do it for God, do it for the people you're working for. Make it beautiful. Do the best job you can as a custodian. Love it. If whatever you're doing, enhance it with love when you give the service. If you go into a grocery store, and the person's selling you the food, they had a hard day, they're just ringing it up on the register. Give them a smile. Ask them how they're doing. Give them a silent prayer. Wish them well. That might be the only positive thing they hear all day long. So, yeah, love and service is huge.
So what do you do? What do you do when you feel your heart kind of dried up? Because I've had periods of this where I see myself that I've intellectually been following the spiritual path, but then I feel that, oh, my love is literally dried up. So I always come out of these moments, but never consciously. It just happens.
If you invest in the outcome, you're always going to be disappointed. In other words, you love somebody, but they don't love you back. After a while, you get tired of loving that person. That's not love. Your love was for rent or for sale. All right, so that's one issue. Second thing, somebody's done you wrong and you send them love. I had a thing where this person, old boss, gave me a bad time, did real terrible things for me. And I prayed for them for 18 years. I hadn't seen them. And then when I met him, she loved me. It was like, wow, she couldn't do enough for me. She didn't know I've been praying for her for 18 years, sending her love for 18 years, with no foreseen events happening or no indication that it was ever changing her in any way until I actually ran across her 18 years.
So why did you pray for her?
Always pray for those that hurt you. They're your greatest teachers. Always pray for your enemy. Anybody can pray for people that love you. Pray for your parents, pray for your girlfriend, pray for, anybody can pray for those people. Pray for those that need the prayer, really need the prayer. And when you're praying for them, because they've done lousy things to you, it's very hard to hate them, right?
Yeah.
You're wishing well to them. And you're not also going back to the past to pick that old pain apart and suffer. You're getting rid of the suffering. Now, just because you've forgiven somebody and you love somebody doesn't mean that you spend time with them. It doesn't mean that you have to be around them. It doesn't even mean that you have to like them. Because just because you love somebody doesn't mean you like them. You don't like what they do. I mean, they just got bad personality. They rub you wrong. They criticize you. But you love them. That you got to do. You got to love. Liking somebody, that's your choice. Hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. But then again, I guess somebody has to be careful not to fall in the trap of, these kind of, aloof love, like I'm above you, so I love you. But then again, it's an egoic kind of feeding the ego.
Well, see, that's not love. That's not the kind of love I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's like, I love you. I give you all this money from charity. I love you. I'm doing all this for you. That's buying and renting love, and it has strings. I love you, but if you stop loving me, I don't love you anymore. That's a divorce. That's not love. You love somebody. Even if they do something crazy, you love your child. Even if they're in jail, you love your child, right?
Yeah.
So that's divine love. And divine love is not advertised. You don't go and make a video and say, I love you, Simon. I love you, Bill. I forgive you all. Well, that's egotistical. Telling somebody you forgive them is one of the most egotistical things you can do at times. It depends how it's delivered. If they need to hear it, they've come to you and they really want to hear it. They've asking you, hey, look, I beg for forgiveness. On my 12-step program, I'm telling you I've wronged you. All right, give them what they need to hear. But if they've done something wrong to you and they never come to you to ask for forgiveness, don't call them up and say, I've forgiven you for all the crap you've done for me, but I forgive you. Love, hang up. That's ego. You didn't forgive them. You just rubbed it in. It's like telling somebody after they've been really nasty to you, you go, well, God bless you. You hang it. But you didn't mean it, right? You didn't mean it. It's like, I'm better than you.
Yeah.
So, love is all over the place. But what's interesting is you can't fake it.
Yeah.
When somebody loves you, you know it. You know when it's real. Well, you fall in love with somebody and you love this person because they're beautiful and they're a sports hero or they're a movie star. As we talked about earlier, all those things fade away. Are you going to still love this person when they're an 80-year-old woman? You know, or when she's 100 pounds overweight? Are you still going to love them? If you love somebody, it matters not. Are you going to love them when they get dementia? Are you going to love them when they die? They're gone. Are you going to love them when they leave you? They don't like you anymore. So when I say love, I'm talking about a love that transcends all that. That says, when you love somebody, there's no judgment. You love them. You can hate the sinner. You hate the sin, but you love the sinner. I remember my old chapel days of giving a sermon.
Bill, I have one last question, just because it's getting quite late here in Bulgaria, but I'm very curious to hear your input on this. Basically, in these spiritual traditions in the East especially, there's this idea that, yes, we grow and the light that we shine on the world grows, but also evil, or maybe not evil, but darkness is a part of the world that cannot be removed, and not only of the world, but of our own selves. So how do you deal with the darkness inside? Because, of course, it's very unhealthy to suppress all your dark impulses, but then what do you do with them as you're doing spiritual work?
Okay, let's get back to this whole darkness and light and evil, quote unquote, evil,
yeah,
good, which are all relative. From culture to culture and all kinds of things. Because, for example, when you say something is evil or bad, like cancer, I've had friends get cancer, and by having cancer and the fact they're going through this dying process, they all of a sudden became spiritual. They wanted to know about what's on the other side. They mended relationships. They fixed their marriages. They talked to their children. They became better human beings in the last 6 years, or the last 6 months, or the last 6 days of their life. They became better people. They became more understanding, more loving through the disease. So was the disease a bad thing for them? It was an evil thing. Yeah, but it made them in the end a better person. So then again, you get back to the light and darkness. But in the world, as there's this duality, there's this balance, heads and tails, yin and yang, lightness and darkness. As you get individuals of greater light value, greater vibration, greater powers in the world. Perhaps they're living in a cave someplace in the Himalayas. Maybe they're working in a button-down with a collar job with a tie. You never know where these great beings could be. You know, they don't necessarily have to be a hermit in the hills, but there'd be some great spiritual beings out there that are praying for the mass of humanity, and also beings on the other side or the other dimensions that are also working hard for the people on this level, in this creation, on this terrestrial plane.
That's very interesting. Have you had any intimations of these beings? I mean, have you experienced any of them?
Yes. Let's just go on with yes. On
Yeah.
that short answer, yes. So there are people working on behalf of us. All right. Now, as on this terrestrial level, as you get beings with higher energy, you have to keep the creation in balance on this plane here by having equal energy coming in the bad side. In other words, for all these great spiritual beings, you got great bad guys coming. You know what I mean? They got energy too. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of a battle. It's kind of a battle for balance all the time. Lightness, truth, love always win, but there's a battle. They always try to balance it out with the darkness. So, yes, there's a battle going on. There has been a battle going on. There will continue to be a battle going on as long as there's creation. There is this battle of light and darkness, quote unquote, good and evil, which is relative, truth and whatever else is not truth. There's only one truth, love. So when I say not truth, I'm really saying if it ain't love, it's not truth. If it's not an element of love,
just to bring you back to this when you're talking about be yourself, but also talking about transcending the ego, there's this, I've been thinking about this a lot actually, how the ego, even though, yes, you do transcend it and you do kind of become aware and you stop associating yourself with your ego, but then again, it is something that has its own needs, right? So depending on your path.
As long as you want, so people say, as long as you got karma, you got desires, you got karma. Your desires could be for world peace. Your desires be for, helping people become enlightened. Your desires could be great, beautiful things.
No, of course.
And the only way you can accomplish that, you got to hang on to the ego. So as long as you got desires, you got a body, even if the body's just light. So trying to find somebody that's given up the body, it ain't happening. It's like, you got to meet God face to face. So when's that going to happen, right? So you see, as long as you still got a mind and you're still in a body, you can't see God face to face. So, but you can see those that he's created, Jesus, God, Krishna, Buddha, or, whatever else, Shiva. And when you start at some level, when you start off on the path, you discriminate and you say these people are all different. Well, there's Buddha, there's Jesus, there's Krishna, it's all different aspect of God. It's all one. It's all one. It doesn't matter. So that's the hard part, or the easy part. You realize that there is nothing that is not God.
Even the ugly and the evil and the hurtful.
Even the so-called devil, Lucifer. Come on, who created God? We don't know. We don't know if God was created. But God created all of this. It's, as it says in all the scriptures. Well, if he created everything in creation, then he created the devil as well. He created temptation, created mosquitoes, he's created rats, disease, COVID-19. God created it all.
Yeah, I find this amazing because you've lived through the Vietnam War and you've seen some serious suffering, but then again you affirm that God is all loving.
God was there. There was no lack of God there on the battlefield. God was killing God, but God don't die. It's all, it gets to that level. Now that's very hard for somebody that's lost somebody, or, you know what I mean? It's, you can't have this conversation with somebody that's a war widow or lost their father or somebody, because that's not the reality that they're in. And so we're living in that reality. So we have to deal with people with that reality. We have to be compassionate and loving to these people that, they go through a war. We have to realize that for people on this level of creation, that's a reality, right? That's a reality. But in the ultimate reality, you're never born and you never die. Therefore, somebody asked me on one podcast way back, well, of course you believe in reincarnation. I go, what reincarnation? I go, what do you mean? What? I said, think about this. If it's all a dream, and I have a dream life, and I wake up from that dream because I die, quote unquote, and then I come back in another dream life, and then I come back in another dream life, and I keep coming back to all these dream lives, but I've never changed. I'm still the same consciousness. There was no reincarnation. There was only incarnation. I was never not me. I was never God. I mean, I was never always God. I'm always God. So is there reincarnation? If it's all a dream, you dreamt you had a life. And since all life, past, present, future, is going on simultaneously, how could that be if you got reincarnations? I mean, it's all happening now. It's all one. It just flows. Mm-hmm. But what you do in the now can change what happens in the future now. And what you're doing in the now, like meditation, burning karma through meditation, like Kriya Yoga, you could lessen some of the stuff you did in the past. So actually you're changing your past and you could change your future, but you do it all in the now. This is the only place you can work.
Yeah.
It's the only place that you got. This is the only reality we have in this time-space box that we're locked in, is the now. That's our playground. So from the now, that's where you got to solve your problems. Now, if you really get into heavy meditation and your skills and stuff, you can transverse along this line of now, and you can slide into a future now.
You mean like a vision?
No, like slide in. You're there. Yeah, it's a vision if you're still consciously in this now. And you could slide into the past now. You could occupy multiple nows.
Really? Has it happened to you?
Yeah.
Oh.
And so you could do that. But how is that done? I can't even explain it, because explaining it is like you got to go, whoa, what do you mean multiple nows? How can it be two nows? You know. So somebody reading the future is not a big deal. Somebody reading the future just looks at the future and reads the newspaper. Here it is. Here's what happens. That's not a big deal. But what you choose to do with that information is sacred. So knowing things and saying things are two different things. Got to be, there's some things that I can say this, I shouldn't say this. And there's some things that just, there's no way they come across other than egotistical or bombastic or whatever. So one has to really measure what you say. And even at times, I even feel like, gee, I say this, there's no way to come across. It's certainly not a humble thing to say. It's just, it reeks, and I'm always on guard on that. So there's sometimes I believe it or not, sometimes I don't say things, but I'm telling you, yes, you can slide across the scale of now. It's not a permanent, there's nothing permanent. The only thing is God's love.
Yeah. Just ask you, because this is very interesting. I'm wondering if you've experienced this. Is this just due to your specific abilities, because you have many, or do you know of other people who don't have your psychic abilities who are also capable of this?
Oh, I know a couple of people in India that's capable of this, yes. Yeah, absolutely. And the fact that it's happened to me, I can't be egotistical enough to think it won't happen to somebody else. Now, it would be nice if I could control, there's people that can control that and, intentionally do that. And there's some people that it happens to for reasons. So that's another whole leg up, to be able to consciously go, okay, I'm going 5 years from now. No, that's a whole different level. And I only know probably one person that I've met that's probably could do that. So that's a whole different level than it's happenstance. It happens when you need it, when you need to know something, where there's a reason. Not your decision. It happens. The universe made a decision. So, yeah, I could make a good science fiction book, wouldn't it?
No, it's interesting. It is very interesting, because one of my previous guests, he had also very interesting cities from his very birth. He had very interesting powers and things happening to him. And he told me in our interview that recently, in the last couple of years, he would be doing something, sitting on a chair, driving his car, and suddenly in a flash, he would be at another place, at another time in another place, and not just seeing, but completely living another life. And his hypothesis is that he's experiencing other incarnations.
Yes to that. That got in my mind. I just said yes, because my mind says yes. All right, whoever that was, yes. But I've seen it happen. I met this woman in India at the airport, Mumbai. She was about 40, 38, 40, something like that. And she was having problems. She went over to me. She wheels over this wheelchair she was being wheeled around the airport. And she looks at me and she says, she stares at me, and I'm waiting for her to say something, right? And she finally goes, I'm seeing, she blinks her eyes. She goes, I'm seeing in a man in, looks like a knight of the round table, you know? And she just looks like, I don't understand that, but you're like a knight of the round table. Well, what was interesting is when I left the ashram, the guru there said something about the Knights of the Round Table and how I was there, you know.
Oh.
And whether the Knights of the Round Table were real or not, that was based on something. And so it was something, you know. He says, no, for you it was real. And I go, yeah. Can't author all that stuff, you know, come on, it's not real, it's folks. So when she comes there and she says that to me, I'm thrown off and going, what is going on here, right? So then I work with her when she gets to America on the phone. She's having some problems. I get her in touch with these two young men that help her with these demons that have attached her. Somebody put a curse on her, attached to demons. Whole different Indian workout. I mean, it was just a weird, strange thing. But I met her. She came to visit these young guys that helped her in Florida. And so I was at their apartment. And I'm talking to them. And they're all sitting around. And I'm looking at them. And when I'm looking at them sitting inside this apartment, I'm seeing them sitting on a trunk of a tree, a rock, the grass, a meadows. In the old days, they're dressed like medieval times or something. And I'm going, and I'm looking around, and she's sitting there. And before I could say anything, she says, "Are we all back with the knights and all that stuff? I see everybody sitting around rocks in a meadow." And I'm going, I hadn't said nothing yet, but I'm watching that, and I'm going, I said, "Describe to me." And she described where the rock was at, and she walked around. And it was exactly as I was seeing. So I know she wasn't making it up. So it was like, that's the first time I've had experience for somebody to be able to jump to the past and see what I'm seeing.
Wow, that's
so
very bizarre.
That was unique. It was just like, and then she got back to reality, but she went in this like little trance thing. And I'm going, wow, man. I was like, if I just saw it, then I have to think, okay, am I hallucinating? Am I crazy? I mean, look, do I have a psychological disorder? Right? And you have to ask yourself that, right? Have I done drugs and they're coming back? Have I got hit in the head and got some weird stuff? Do I got a disease, a brain tumor? So none of the above. So I'm sitting there after I saw all that, and then she steps right in and shows you, yeah, there's a rock here. This guy's sitting on a branch. That. This guy's wearing this tunic. I'm going. And everybody's just looking at everybody, and I'm nodding my head going, yeah, it's exactly what I'm seeing. Exactly what I'm seeing. Not what I saw. It's exactly what I'm seeing. Same time she's pointing them out. So that was that. Then I had a time travel event that I went back to Vietnam and visited myself from, it was about 15 years ago or so. So I'm an older man, the white beard, and I was dealing with some things in that present now. So I got to, since we're telling time stories, you got this now, that now. Anyway, in the present, then, now, in 2000 something, I'm worried about helping people because I've been trying to help people and nothing's working. I'm telling people, don't do this, don't do that. You know, I can't control their futures. Remember that story I told you before? So it was around that same time. So I'm going, wow, I tell these people not to do that because something's going to happen, and they listen anyway. And so I'm laying in my bed, and all of a sudden, I'm transported. I'm out of my bed, and I'm sitting on top of my Huey helicopter in Vietnam. It's sitting on the side of the airfield in the dark. It's about midnight. And the me of 1967, of April 1967, is looking at me from 2005 or whatever it was, right?
Wow.
And I'm seeing myself and thinking from 2005 going, well, that's me. I remember when this happened when I was in Vietnam. And then there's me of that time looking at me and I go, well, that's me from the future. And I remembered that in April of 1967, I was on top of my helicopter and I was working out in the dark and had a flashlight under my neck to see, which was really stupid because you got snipers out at the edge of the runway, and that's the only light they see, right? You know, where they're going to shoot, right? So, but I'm trying to work on this thing, and I was sitting there, and I was despondent because I told a couple guys not to fly, and they flew anyway, and one got killed and one got wounded. So it was the same kind of thing. I couldn't control people's things. I was having that same thought pattern I was having 40-some years later. And so the old me tells the young me, hey, look, you know, you can't control people's future. I know I'm here. I can't control anybody's, right? And the younger me says, yeah, we've had this conversation before. Yeah, I couldn't control nothing here, and you're not going to be able to control anything there. It's there's their own will. It's their own destiny. It's their own fate. Get over it. And we looked at each other and had a long conversation. But I remember that crazy moment. When I was in Vietnam at the time, I thought I kind of shook myself loose when it was all gone, right? I'm going, oh, this is weird. And then it happens 40-some years later, and I'm going from the other direction coming back, and I'm going, I've been here before. This is the conversation we had. Yeah, we've had this conversation. We have this conversation about having had that conversation.
Wow.
So, and depending on when I was talking, I was seeing and thinking from the perspective of that me.
That's incredible.
And sometimes it was an overlap, and I couldn't tell which. So when I say sliding, that's what I mean, sliding. Same thing in the future, except there's no old me. It's just future. So that is hard to explain and impossible for anybody to. How do you verify that? You can't verify it. You can't. So I tell people, look, there's a lot of things happen to a lot of people, and you're going to meet people as you interview people. Your job is not to analyze, is that right or wrong? Is that true or not? If you're a true interviewer, you let the conversation go where it goes, and you kind of focus, you ask some questions, which you're very good with. But ultimately, if that person expresses a view, it's not yours. It is what it is. But as we go down this road of life, I'm getting things on you right now. That's why I can't think. I'm getting things to you. I'm sliding. I'm sorry.
Really?
Yeah. Sliding. I don't know whether to share them or not, but I'm sliding, so I've kind of lost everything. So I can't maintain this now fully because I only slide forward just a little. Yeah, interesting. It's interesting. Anyway.
It is super interesting.
It's interesting, but you'll survive. Anyway, it's interesting.
Thank you.
Nothing. It just is what it is. But there's a part of me being pulled to carry your thoughts and stuff into newer directions and different directions for your anticipated fate, because I don't want to interfere with that. Here's the thing you got to understand.
Oh boy, now I'm really interested.
Here's how fate works. Let's say I told you that on a certain date, this is going to happen to you.
Yeah.
So you listen to me, and that gets rid of that date, and you go, oh, this is going to happen downtown. Well, I ain't going downtown. I'm staying home that day. You've changed your fate. Because, right? Now you never know if that was true or not. It's like telling somebody you're going to get lung cancer from smoking a cigarette because you see it 30 years from now, but they're not going to listen to you. But if they listen to you, if somebody warned you, if you had a reading with your, astrological reading, they say you're going to die of lung cancer because you're smoking. Well, if a smart person, they say, well, I'm going to stop smoking, right? They changed the trajectory of their fate. So always this fate is always in your own hands to a degree. locked in by certain karmic things, right? That was like the guy that, there was an old story about this guy. He was told, you're going to die at the feet of a lion. So he goes, and I'm never visit a zoo. I'm not going to go anywhere where there's lions and all that stuff. And he's happy about it. He's just laughing about it. And he trips and falls down these stairs in Italy. And at the bottom of the stairs, this big, huge statue of a lion. The Romans made this statue of a lion at the bottom of the stairs. And he dies at the feet of the lion. Well, it's like, so sometimes you know things that's to help, and sometimes that didn't help him. You're going to die at the feet of the lion. Well, the guy laughed, I'm from New York. I'm going to take a trip to Italy. Who's to think I'm going to die at the feet of the lion in Italy? So, but I'm telling you that when you know things, it's like, what's that? What do we call physics now when they get into this, the string, strings,
quantum mechanics,
quantum physics, right? Thank you, quantum physics. And they tell me in quantum physics, if you observe this thing, it changes it. It's no longer the same. It's moved. It's changed. You've altered it just by observation. Hold that thought. That same thing works with the future. By observing the future, telling somebody their future, you can, just by that, alter it. That's why when people get their readings done from astrologists or fortune teller and they tell them a bunch of stuff, sometimes it's 60, 70%, or 50%. It's never 100%, is it? Never. Notre Dame, it's not 100%, is it? People try to prove it is, but nothing's 100%. Because you make things known to the universe, you've called attention, you put a spotlight on it, you've observed it. You've altered it a little. You got that?
Yeah.
That's hard to understand. I mean, it's the closest. I had a naughty palm reading, PALM, like the palm tree, done in India, and this will probably going to end up in part 2 of your thing. But I had it done there, and they made all these predictions. And the guy says, for yours, because we're only seeing a decade here, that's all we're just going forward. For yours, it looks like it's pretty much in stone. I go, I'm one of these guys who always believes that when you know the future, you've already altered it and changed it, right? So here's your death dates. There's a possibility you got to go here and then. Well, one of those death dates fell on July, I think it was 1st or 2nd of 2016. I come back from a 55-day trip to the UK, giving lectures and talks, and I was in Canada and Florida. And I got off the airplane, and my ears are bleeding, my nose is bleeding, I got blood in my eye, I got strep throat, 2 ear infections, double pneumonia, both lungs infected, a stomach infection, and pink eye, and I was having heart problems. It's minor stuff getting off the airplane. Airplane stewardess looks at your blood. They think you got, some kind of plague. So anyway, I'm going to ER. I go to somebody's house and just decided, no, you should go to ER. So I go to ER and I'm put in the hospital. And they said, we got to do heart procedure and all this stuff. They got me in isolation. And then I get a phone call on a night before I'm supposed to have this heart surgery, and it's this astrologer. And he goes, Bill, don't have the operation tomorrow. We just looked at your chart. It's astronomically impossible for you to survive. It is the worst day of your life on this chart. That's your death day. Don't do it. Don't let him operate. And I told him, I said, well, thanks for your warm comfort before I have my surgery. Great. I said, but no, I've looked past that. No, it's your death day tomorrow. I said, no, I'm not going to die tomorrow. So I had the surgery. I didn't die. But his astrological charts, and he read them off to me. Everything was lined up. That was the absolute worst day of my life. It was a day I was destined to go. So then the other thing in this thing was, if I somehow survived that, 2021, my birthday, if I made 75, that would be like in the hands of Lord Shiva, because, I'm 74 now. So this year is like the death year, right? According to the thing. It's like, that's your end of the reading, right? So now you got that COVID-19 out there. Guess who's not going outside? Anyway, so I don't want to tempt fate. So right now I've been looking at this thing for 10 years thinking, well, I got 10 years. I better hurry up and get my books done. I better be making amends with people. I better do this. So I have been, and I've been trying to make my time pay off as best I can. And then after that 2016 thing, I go, well, I'm not guaranteed tomorrow. Maybe I should start doing some videos on YouTube. And so what I want to say and what I want to get out there is shared, if I'm not around. So right now I'm 74 years old. I had my birthday in March. I turned 74. My next birthday is 75, 21. Everybody can follow along on is Bill going to make it? Connect the dots. I plan on making 75. The astronomer said, no, you're not. So once again, we're going to have that argument with the future and fate. As I really believe that if you could slide past that, if you have a divine worth and purpose to the universe for staying longer. Otherwise, it's time to go. Get out of here. Go. Bye. You're not special. But if you're still doing the job that you were supposed to do, whatever that dharma may have been, then Lord Shiva can grant you an extension for that work. Not to go to baseball games and soccer games, not to, have fun, and go hiking and can't. No, your purpose is to be there to carry out what you're supposed to carry out, to love and serve. So if you still got the mission and you still got people that you haven't met, which is another story, because I was showing all these people in the future that are supposed to help, and I haven't seen them all.
You haven't seen them to this date?
Well, one today I saw, but I haven't seen them all. And so when I see them all, I think my purpose is done. But again, when you get these astrology charts done, and everything else in the chart was true, heart surgery, this, that, see this, it was 100%, except for the day of death. Day of death was wrong. The year, if that misses you, this is the ultimate. You're not going to get out of here. This is the last decade. So I'll celebrate my 75th birthday very comfortably. I'm looking forward to it. I don't believe that this is the last year, even though everything else is 100%. And I don't want to prove them right. I mean, there's no value in that for me. Oh, they were right about everything. Yep, I'm not here anymore. Sorry, guys. No, because I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, God knows, literally God knows when that date is, right? And just because it says it in the stars, it says it in the charts, it says, and it looks like it's all lining up, you still have the strength of your willpower. But ultimately, that wouldn't even help you if that's really, truly intended. If God wanted you out, it wouldn't have made any difference. I mean, I could have said, it's not my day. If it's my day, if God wanted me out of there, it's a certain. So it's like me telling God, look, if I still got a job to do, I'm here tomorrow. Okay? So I'm here tomorrow because I still got a job to do. Now, if that's not true, if I've done all I'm supposed to do, then I'm not here tomorrow. So if 75 comes and I'm not here, then I did what I was supposed to do. So, but to get a reading like that is so crazy. They don't normally do that to somebody. And so I'm thinking, a couple of things happened. One, it made me pay attention to time and focus my energy on the now and get as much done as I can. And to value my time and to value my space in this time. So getting predictions done, to go back to my original thing about when you see the future, you've changed it. That would have been my future. I would have died July of 2016 or this year. the year of the COVID-19. Okay? That was my destiny. If I escaped one, I would have got the other. But I still got guys I haven't seen. Men and women, children I haven't seen. And so I suggest to others, it's not enough just to listen to me talk. It's not even enough if you believe me. It doesn't matter whether you believe me or not. Do believe in love and do believe in the possibility. So if you're a skeptic, you got two choices. You can disbelieve and say, no way possible, or you can believe. I'm saying there's a third way. Third way is you can either prove or disprove, but you're willing to contemplate the possibilities. Possibility. So I'm just leaving that area there. Possibilities. You don't have to agree, disagree, find fault, no fault. But when you have your own mysterious, blissful, divine encounters, when you have your own encounters of the, what was that movie? Encounters of the third kind, fourth kind. I'm talking about the ninth kind, right? It's beyond the others. You ain't gonna see it in UFO. You're going past this. You're going for the ultimate, right? The ultimate truth. When you have the ultimate encounters, just a taste of it, a 30-second experience, you're hooked. You will know. Once you have one of these moments where you know that you're one with the plants, you're one with the stars, you're one with each other, you'll never be able to hate anybody again. Depression will be very difficult because you always know that the ultimate reality is love and joy, bliss, peace, all that goes together. That's the ultimate journey. That's where we're all going. We are all going to the same place. Somebody may look like they got a head start on you. This guy's going to get there and I got more lifetimes. Remember I talked about the reality where we're all doing these nows now? So even someplace in the cosmos, in the dimensions, there's a Simon in the future someplace that is already an enlightened being. He's already riding a rainbow someplace. He's already saying, yeah, Bill, get out of the past, man. Come back to this moment. So it's all in the moment. And so that's why suicide don't work. You take yourself out of this moment, you create more problems for you in the next moment. You never can escape the moment. Suicide, never an answer. Never an answer. But you're not going to hell. Nobody's ever going to hell. You may have some karmic that feels like you're in a bad place. You may have darkness. You may have a lot of stuff. But nobody's going to be suffering in damnation and the fires of hell forever. Not when God is about love. How could a loving God do that to somebody? Yeah. If people want to believe in hell, that is their own hell. And they can create their own hell. That's what they believe. That's what they see. Going back to our original concept at the beginning of this conversation. By the way, let's get a cheap plug in the way. See back there on my bookshelf? Yeah. I got Warrior book. It's Warrior Spiritual's Odyssey. And that's my life story. It's an autobiography about Vietnam, which was another whole chapter we could do sometime, about Vietnam and all the stuff that happens about my childhood near-death experience where I saw 50 years in advance, which is another whole serious thing. JFK's assassination prediction, all the way up through finding my wife, traveling, going to end up at Machu Picchu having a heart attack. That book takes you to 2004. The next book, Alchemy of a Warrior's Heart, is kind of the things I've learned the 10 years since I wrote the first book. New experiences, 4 trips to India, 2 more near-death experiences, meeting gurus, saints, sages up in the mountains in the Himalayas, falling off a cliff in the Himalaya and dying and having a cobra revive me. All kinds of neat stories, plus the ones I told about the operations, the heart operations, all that. So that's in that book, whole different thing. And then you see that one that says Sacred Eye. That's a book of poetry that won a national award as the best poetry book in 2004 by a publishing group, $25,000 publishing award, which I thought was pretty significant. And Purple Hearts, which is a book I wrote for veterans about Vietnam, before, after, during, dealing with it, coping with it. But I give it a little spiritual tint. And The Sacred Eye is very spiritual, and I write from experiences of some of my unique experiences. But so that's my two poetry books. I have another book, Spiritual Warrior's Journey, which is written back a long time ago. But these are my 4 books that I'm still selling out there. So just as a blatant plug, if you like what I'm saying,
Definitely.
And I take the money from those books, and that goes to support my Spiritual Warriors ministry. And I give away cases of books to some of my veterans and ones that can't afford it. And people, if I feel they need my book, I give it to them. I don't worry about it, because I got other people that buy a bunch of books and pay more than the book's worth. And as long as I break even, it makes my wife happy. She gets unhappy, but I give away a couple of cases of books, and then I didn't sell any. So it's like, what are you doing? The idea you write a book, you're supposed to make. I said, no, the idea is to get the message out.
Yeah.
So that's about the message.
Yeah.
So ultimately, I am not the message. I'm a messenger. And I'm a conduit for love and things to go. Now, these stories I write about, these things that happened in my life, were not, I tell people this, they don't understand, but I try to tell people, they just didn't happen for me and to me. They happened so I could share them for others. Because there's people, and times one of those people telling me that, believe it or not, there's people out there that haven't had any iota of these things, that they don't take a nightly journey, that they don't visit other times, other places, other gods, other beings, other whatever. So for those people, I salute, because to me, it takes such greater faith to accept God and all the gifts of that he has, and to meditate day after day after day, meditate. When you see absolutely zero, no indications anything's working, and yet you still go back and meditate. And yet you're still a seeker. And yet you're still reading. And yet you're still watching YouTube videos about it. And yet you still believe that it's possible. And to you and to those, that is blessed karma. To do it without even a insight of reward, not even a glimmer, a hint of reward. I'm telling you, your time will come. Because if you just unselfishly go into meditation to love God, not to do anything else, not to find peace, love, joy, just meditate, tell God you love him. Tell God, I'm here to love you.
Thank
and
you.
if you seek God on a level of love, no matter what the results are, without fail, you will find all your heart desires.